Okay, I'm going to get started by just welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone. Sawadee Kap. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This evening, what we're going to be doing is a guided meditation here in the main hall. We do this each Sunday at 6:30. And tonight we're going to be doing loving kindness meditation. This is a meditation that helps you to transform your mind away from anger, hatred, ill will, and all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. Oftentimes people think that anger and hatred and these kinds of things are coming from other people, but it's actually coming from your own mind. And this is the reason why you can eliminate it out of your mind. This loving kindness meditation is essentially to rewire your mind to be more loving and kind. But then you're going to need to go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. You wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to the elimination of anger. So you're going to need to also understand the Eightfold Path, which is the core central teaching of the Buddha. And this is something that we teach in all of our programs that we teach here at the temple over in our classroom. So if you're ever interested in learning, you can learn here at the temple. You can learn online because we live stream all of our classes and everything's available for you at no cost. But the way this meditation works is we start with doing some chanting to ease into the meditation. And if you guys would like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. We have chanting sheets over there on the platform. You're welcome to help yourself to get those, or if somebody would like to hand them out, you guys are more than welcome to hand those out. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite the teachings orally. This is how they remembered the teachings so that they could actually practice the teachings. They didn't have books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, things like this to remember the teachings during the lifetime of the Buddha 2,500 years ago. Everything he taught was oral. So they used chanting or recitation of the teachings as a way to be able to commit the teachings to memory. So every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is the way that they could remember his teachings and then practice them. So you could see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. The Buddha never taught any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. If you're seeing rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer associated with the teachings of the Buddha, these aren't actually his teachings. These are misunderstandings that people are using today. He didn't teach those things. The teachings of the Buddha aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. It's about learning, growing, and developing in this life so you can get to peace and joy in this life. So we're going to be doing this chanting as a way to ease into the meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be guiding you in a breathing mindfulness meditation session. This is where we're just going to be focused on the breath. And anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and bring the mind back to the breath. This trains the mind to let go, to let go, to let go. Because that's what's actually causing the mind to be angry to begin with, is it's holding on and it's craving permanence, wanting things to be a certain way. And if the mind gets what it wants, it gets pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, that's where the anger, the sadness, the frustration, the agitation, annoyance, and other feelings like this is arising in the mind. Because the mind craves for permanence, wanting things to be a certain way permanently. The mind is longing, yearning for this permanence, but yet you live in an impermanent world. So as long as the mind is longing, yearning, and wanting things to be a certain way, you can only be happy when you get what you want. So this breathing mindfulness meditation that we're going to do on the way into loving kindness, it trains the mind to let go. So you'll hear me guiding you in that, but then there's going to be a period of time where we're just doing it quietly on our own. But then I'm going to come back in with these phrases where you're going to hear me say things like, may I be peaceful, may I be safe, may I be well, and may I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. You would like to repeat these phrases in your mind on the out breath. Then you're going to hear me expand this a little bit further, where it's going to be, may mom and dad be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness. And we're going to go through multiple rings until we get to all beings. What you're doing here is you're transforming your mind. You're not invoking any kind of special power to come and change mom and dad or anything like that. Nothing in the teachings of the Buddha is about changing other people. It's about changing your mind so that now if you can have this love and kindness, this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, including mom and dad and others. When you're around mom and dad, you can be more loving and kind. Because oftentimes what the unenlightened mind has bitterness and hostility, resentment towards others. Because again, the mind's craving or expecting things to be a certain way. And you can only be happy when people do things that way. But not everyone's going to do things that way. That's the mind craving permanence. So when your anger and hostility is coming up and you're putting that out in your relationships, it's just damaging your relationships. So this meditation is to help essentially rewire your mind or fill up the gas tank with this love and kindness, so that now when you go out into the world, you can be more loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And this is where the real transformation is happening, both within your own mind, but also in your relationships too. Because as long as you're putting out bitterness and harshness and hostility, that's what's going to come back to you in these relationships. But if you can put out love and kindness and warmth and gentleness, then you'll see this coming back to you. So this meditation is essentially like filling up the gas tank, so that then you can go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. And that's where you need the teachings of the Buddha to be able to more fully help you understand how to go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. Then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness meditation. Then we're going to come out of that with some more chanting. And then what I'm going to do is essentially have a question and answer period where you guys will be able to ask me any and all questions that you like about anything related to the teachings of the Buddha, anything you're seeing here in Thailand, any personal challenges that you might be having, or anything you'd like to talk about. You can ask any and all questions that you like. I might even share just a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you guys before that, to just kind of help you to understand a little bit of what the teachings of the Buddha are before we have our question and answer session. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times in your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like having a tool belt that you invoke these different tools that you need at different times. But oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'm going to give you some guidance on the seated position just to help you kind of get started with that. But understand what I'm sharing with you are just suggestions or recommendations. There's not just one way for everybody to sit, because that would be permanence when we live in an impermanent world. So you can really sit however you're comfortable, whether it's something that I'm sharing with you or something you've come up with on your own. You can just sit however you like. It's important that your body's not painful, but it's also not luxurious, that it's in the middle where it's comfortable. So you could be sitting on the floor, in a chair. If you're at home, you might be on a bench or a sofa in a wheelchair. You can really sit however you like. If you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you like to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation in the lower legs and cause pain. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. In terms of your hands and arms, the Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it the same way. Again, that would be permanence, where we live in an impermanent world. So there's other options here too. You could put your palms on your thighs or your knees. Some people might put their palms up, or just rest your hands comfortably in your lap. And the same thing for anybody who's in a chair, or if you're at home in a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles. But when I teach over in the classroom, there's a chair that I sit with my legs crossed. So this is an option for you as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect, with your sternum up and your shoulders back. It'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, because this is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So by having the upper body in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll keep the mind attentive and alert so that you can train it, but it'll also make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So I'm going to guide us in this meditation, starting with the chanting, and then you guys are welcome to join in, and then I'm going to come back in with the guidance to help you during the meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Utang makawanang apiwate ami Sawakato makawata tammo Damang namasami Supatipano makawato Sawakasangko Sanghang namami Namo rasa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo rasa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo rasa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokawitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang Oto bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. When you get to the next out breath, repeat these phrases in the mind. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May my friends, family, neighbors, and co-workers all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who have harmed me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath. Anytime the mind moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะขวาโพตังมหาขวันนังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาขวัตตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาขวัตโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมอะระหะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this evening. Welcome to everyone joining online as well. This was loving kindness meditation. This is a meditation that's designed to help you to eliminate your anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, and things of this nature. Even the slightest dislike. By the time you get to this enlightened mental state, you won't even have the slightest dislike towards another person. This dislike is coming from one's own mind. This individual that we refer to as the Buddha, he started out as Siddhartha Gautama. He was born in 563 BC and he died in 483 BC. He lived in where we refer to as Northeast India. He was born in Nepal and then he taught in Northeast India. And during the time of his life, he made his way to enlightenment. He started out as a prince, destined to become a king. He left that life and went into this life of homelessness, where he was then looking to figure out how to train his mind to get to this enlightened mental state. And by the age of 35, after a 6-year journey, he actually figured out how to get to enlightenment, where his mind was completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any discontent feelings. He figured out how to eliminate anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. And when he figured out how to do this, he figured out that there's these 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind. We refer to them as the 10 fetters. They're referred to as a fetter because during the lifetime of the Buddha, if you were a prisoner and they were trying to keep you in a certain area, they would attach a fetter around your ankle. This was a shackle and a chain and a ball. And this is how they kept prisoners confined to a certain area, like in an open field. Where today we put prisoners in jail cells or prison cells, during the lifetime of the Buddha, they would attach a fetter to your ankle. So when he discovered these pollutions in the mind, he called them fetters because it was keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state where it keeps experiencing anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings over and over and over. The mind is struggling in this unenlightened state. So from the age of 35 to 80, he teaches countless people, and countless people get to enlightenment. And you know you get to enlightenment because not only have you eliminated all your discontent feelings and you're no longer experiencing any of that anger and sadness and frustration in others, but your mind will experience focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because when you uproot those pollutions out of the mind, your mind will then perform optimally. With those pollutions in the mind, you'll lack concentration and focus and clarity and memory. You'll have difficulties and struggles like that. By the time you get to enlightenment, you notice that your personal, professional relationships are really blossoming. They're at ease. You no longer are struggling and having difficulties in your relationships any longer because all that bitterness and hostility and harshness that you come out into your relationships, it's affecting your relationships, and that's all coming back to you. By the time you get to enlightenment, you don't even experience a bad mood any longer. It's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood because the causes and conditions that are producing that have been uprooted out of the mind. Oftentimes people think that it's the outside world that's causing you to experience anger and sadness and all these other discontent feelings. But if you learn the teachings of the Buddha in a way that you can investigate and examine them, then you reflect on them to independently verify whether they're true or they're false, and then you practice his teachings, you'll be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. So I'll just give you kind of a little summary of this here, and you can independently verify what I'm sharing with you, because there's no belief in the teachings of the Buddha. You're not believing a bunch of things and hoping something good happens when you die. You're learning, growing, and developing in this life to be able to experience peace and joy in this life. And as your mind's getting closer and closer to this enlightened mental state, you'll know that that's what it's happening, because you know situations where you're angry and sad and frustrated. And when you have those same situations occurring and your mind's peaceful and joyful, you'll know it's coming from these teachings and having trained your mind. So look at a recent situation where you were angry or sad or frustrated. It might have been this morning or yesterday or last week. At that time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else for the feelings that you're experiencing. That's typically what the mind does with its lack of wisdom, is it looks for some external thing to blame or some person to blame. But look at that situation. There was something your mind was longing, yearning for. There was something you were craving. There was something you were wanting or expecting. And if you would have got what you wanted, you would have been happy or excited about that. But because you didn't get what you wanted or expected, the mind experienced anger, sadness, or frustration, or some other painful feeling. There was some craving for something to be a certain way, a certain expectation. The mind craves permanence in the unenlightened state. While you live in an impermanent world, everything around you is constantly changing. As you see here in our little time here, there's people coming and going constantly. Right? That's impermanence. You see sometimes the wind is blowing and other times it's not, right? You can see that the sun is shining sometimes and then other times it's raining. Or your bank account balance might be up here and then it goes down here. Well, if you get really happy and excited when your bank account balance is here, when it goes down here, you'll get angry and sad and frustrated. Or if you get really happy and excited when it's sunny outside, you'll get angry and frustrated when it's raining. This is just change. That's all that it is. But the mind is craving permanence, wanting things to be permanent when you live in an impermanent world. Everything you see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, this is all impermanent. It's constantly changing. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. So if the mind continues to crave permanence while you live in an impermanent world, you'll constantly be upset or frustrated or sad. So the Buddha is teaching you the wisdom of how things work in the world. He's not giving you a bunch of rules and commandments to follow. He's not giving you rites or rituals and ceremonies and worship or prayer. He didn't teach any of those things. If you've seen those things associated with the teachings of the Buddha, they're not the teachings of the Buddha. He taught you to learn and grow and develop, cultivating wisdom, training your mind and uprooting these pollutions out of the mind. And meditation is one of the things that you use in order to train your mind. But there's other wisdom that you need besides meditation. you wouldn't be able to meditate your way to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is some people think that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. This just isn't true. You can see in his original teachings where he says it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that led to his enlightenment. It took him 6 years to get to enlightenment. And you can see this to be true because everything you've ever done in life has been that way. Whether it's learning to read, write, or speak a language, or some job or occupation where you have a special skill, it's been gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. So that's the same way this path to enlightenment works. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress, and you need the wisdom of how to be able to do that. That's the thing that's harming the mind and keeping it in this unenlightened state is it lacks wisdom of how to train itself to be able to purify from these pollutions and actually get to enlightenment. Because we all grow up learning how to clean this body. This is something that we're familiar with. By the time we get to 10, 12, 14 years old, we really enjoy it actually, right? When we're younger, we didn't enjoy it. We wanted to play. We wanted to, watch TV or play video games or what have you. But slowly but surely, as we got older, we were like, wow, I kind of like this fresh feeling. It kind of feels nice. I'm going to do this on my own. Mom and dad don't have to ask me to do it anymore. Well, if we've learned how to clean the body and we're doing that regularly, but we're not cleaning the mind, we're not addressing this full being. There's more than just the body to this being who you are. Yeah, there's the physical body and that needs to be clean, but there's this mind that needs to be cleaned as well. If you went around for a few days or a few weeks or a few months or maybe even a few years without cleaning this body, how uncomfortable do you think you would be? Well, if you've been going around not cleaning the mind, of course you get stressed. Of course you get anxiety. Of course you feel guilt and shame and fear sometimes because the mind hasn't been cleaned. So our parents typically don't know this wisdom, especially if we grew up in a country that doesn't have these teachings. But here in Thailand, they have these teachings. And this is one of the reasons why you see so much peacefulness and joy within this region of the world, that you see a lot of people that are functioning through these teachings with more peacefulness and joy. So now that you're here, you can actually learn these teachings, but even as you go home, you can actually continue to learn because there's places that will live stream their teachings, or there's recordings and books and teachers that you can reach out to. Even if you're in another part of the world, now with modern technology, you can learn and grow and develop no matter where you are in the world. So the teachings of the Buddha are helping you to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And then he's giving you the tools and the techniques of how to eliminate them. But you need to be able to see it for yourself. You can't just believe what I'm sharing, that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. So if you looked at that recent situation where you're angry or frustrated or sad, and you can see that your mind was craving some kind of permanence, then you might have this breakthrough where you can see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, and then you can actually apply the real solution to fix it. But if you can't see that yet, it's okay. We're going to pause here in a moment and open up the questions. You guys can let me know, because I can give you various examples, or we can use an example from your life to be able to help you see how your mind's craving permanence, because the mind will firmly believe that it's other people that's causing you to be angry. I'm sure you've been in knockdown, drag-out fights where you've been adamantly trying to convince people that they need to stop doing what they're doing, or else you're going to continue to get angry or frustrated. And if you look back through this, you'll be able to see that your mind's craving permanence. Now, surely these other people could be doing something that's unwise, but that's not what's causing your mind to be angry or frustrated. I'll just give you one example before I open up the questions. If I bought a brand new car and I was so excited and happy with this brand new car, and I drove it to the store and I went inside and I came out and there's a scratch on the car, if I got frustrated, it's not the scratch that's causing the frustration. And it's not the person who scratched the car. It's the mind craving permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful, when in reality, this car is not permanent. The paint's going to fade, the tires are going to need to be changed, the upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. This car is going to change. And if my mind craves permanence, when I see that change, that's where the frustration is going to come in, where you can actually be calm if you understand impermanence, and you can say, oh, okay, this car scratched. Let me see, what can I do here? Did someone leave a note? Right? Is there CCTV cameras? I can talk to the security guards and find out who did this. Do I have insurance? Maybe I can just go get it fixed. But the anger doesn't actually help you. It actually blocks you. It blocks your ability to be able to access your wisdom, make wise decisions, and figure out how to solve the issue. So as long as the mind's shaken up with these discontent feelings, you can't get to your wisdom. Because when the mind's calm, you will have mindfulness or awareness of mind. When you have awareness of mind, you'll have concentration or focus and clarity. And when you have focus and clarity, you'll be able to access your wisdom, making wise decisions that produce wholesome results or wholesome karma. But when your mind's uncalm and it's all shaken up, you're going to lack mindfulness or awareness of mind. You're going to lack concentration, and then you're not going to be able to access your wisdom and make wise decisions. So you should be able to see this for yourself, but let me know if you can't, because I've had plenty of students over the years need help to be able to see how their mind's causing their own discontent feelings in various situations. So I'm going to stop here and see if you guys have any questions. If you're here at the temple and you'd like to ask any questions about anything in Thailand or the teachings of the Buddha or anything from your personal life or anything you'd like to ask, you're more than welcome to. We have microphones in the temple. There's one here in the front and there's one back there in the back. All you need to do is get the microphone, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and you just hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then if you would like to keep this microphone with you or share it with someone around you, you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question. You're more than welcome to keep the microphones. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll help us to not get feedback through the speakers. And then for anyone who's online, if you guys would like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically, unmute your microphone, and ask any questions that way. So is there any questions here or online you guys would like to ask? Yes, sir. Did you see the microphone back there? It should be in the middle of the room. There you go. Just, yeah, you've pressed the gray button. It just takes a second for it to come on.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for meditation. I want to ask, how many people in our world?
How many people are in the world?
Yeah.
8 billion people in the world, as far as I know.
And it's real people?
Is it real people? As far as I know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Why do you ask?
I ask because I'm not sure that there are a lot of people in the world. I think there are less, and we can fight with system.
We can fight the system?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay. Would you like me to respond to that and share some thoughts with you? Okay. So as long as you're fighting, you're not actually going to be able to solve anything. If someone has anger and hostility and bitterness and they're fighting, then they're not taking their time to talk and have discussion. You're never going to eliminate anger through more anger. It's kind of like the mind, oftentimes with its anger, will hold on to a hot coal and try to burn somebody else, when in reality, the mind itself is just getting burned. So this meditation that we did, the loving kindness meditation, is transforming your mind to be loving and kind so you can go out into the world and be loving and kind. So if you're living in a household with a life partner, with family or other people like this, and you guys are having troubles and difficulties getting along, there's ways to have discussions about that and solve that. But when there's craving, desire, attachment in the mind, it's difficult for the mind to do that because the mind wants things to be a certain way, right? One person who's living in the house wants it to be one way, the other person wants it to be another way, and now there's a conflict in the household where we might argue and fight to death. Essentially, it's like two animals. That's the way the unenlightened mind functions, is very much like an animal. Even though we're not animals, we're human beings. So the unenlightened mind will function very much like an animal, but getting to enlightenment is to become this better and better human being. And we don't need to fight and bicker and argue. We can actually sit down and have discussions, and we can talk about things, and then we can be understanding with loving kindness and compassion. But it takes training for the mind to be able to do this, because when an individual has craving, desire, attachment, they can only be happy when they get it their way. And when someone doesn't do it their way, they're going to be angry and frustrated. So I would encourage you not to fight, but instead to have discussions with people and learn how to be able to do that through training the mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry I said sir, but I think are you a female? I can't see that far. Yes, I can't see. Yeah, very short hair. Apologize. Yeah. Does someone else have a question? Someone you guys? Yeah, sure. Anybody, you guys can go however you like. Asking questions over there in front of the speaker, you'll need to be careful. The mic might get some feedback. I think it's already on. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the time and for the teachings. Something which I struggle with my practice is the concept of non-self. Even when I can go back for a moment to like consciousness and thoughts, as sensations are, outside of it, they just arise. I always feel it's inside my body. I cannot get to that point of, let's say, moving away from it. Like it always ties to the sensation, ties to the thoughts, it ties to the mind. So do you have any advice how to practice, how to get more out of the meditation and so on? Thank you.
Sure. First, before we talk about non-self, which is a solution to one of the problems the Buddha described, let's first talk about the problem so you guys will understand the problem. One of those fetters that the Buddha discovered is called personal existence view. This is where the mind clings to the body and or the mind, thinking that this is who you are, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. So the mind will cling to a self-image or a self-identity in the mind, wanting others to perceive you in a certain way. And you can only feel comfortable if you're being perceived that way. So if you've ever spilt something on your clothing and you got embarrassed by that, that's the mind's personal existence view. That's one of the fetters or the pollution, that the mind's clinging to this body, this self-image, wanting others to perceive you a certain way, and you can only be comfortable if you're being perceived that way. So if you have clean clothes, you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived, and you're happy about that. But when you have chocolate ice cream or spaghetti sauce on your clothing, now you're not happy about that. That's where the mind becomes embarrassed. Or if you've ever been in front of a mirror and you saw a wrinkle or a mole or a pimple or a gray hair, or you started losing your hair and you were shaken up by that, that's your personal existence view. Or if you've ever stood in front of your closet and thought, who am I going to see today? And how do I want to look? And maybe you put on certain clothes and you looked in the mirror and you're like, no, that's not it. You put on some other clothes and you're like, no, that's not it. And you put on some third clothes, you're like, all right, now I feel comfortable to go outside. This is your personal existence view. This is one of the pollutions or the fetters. When I was a child, I used to get mousse and gel and I'd run it through my hair and try to get every little hair in exactly the right spot. And this is the personal existence view. I couldn't go outside to school until every little hair was in exactly the right spot. And I would sometimes do this so long that I would miss the school bus on the way to school, right? So this is clinging to the body, wanting it to be permanent, when in reality it is impermanent, and only feeling comfortable going outside when you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived. And then there's the self-identity. The self-identity is you might cling to who you think you are as a person based on your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation, any number of things, like I am Indian, or I am German, or I am a Brit, or I am, from Scotland. There was a Scottish person. You're still here? Yeah, I'm a Scot, right? Or I am American, right? Any of this, I am. It can be your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, nationality, job or occupation, any number of things. Even I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend, I am a husband, I am a wife. And now when you're in a relationship, you have a certain level of comfort. But then when you guys break up and you're single, your mind doesn't identify with I am single. So you might have felt like you wanted to hurry up and get right back into another relationship. This is the mind's personal existence view. It doesn't identify with I am single. It identifies with I am a boyfriend, I'm a girlfriend, and it doesn't feel comfortable being single. So it feels like it wants to hurry up and get right back in another relationship, thinking that will solve the problem. But it's this personal existence view that is the true problem. Or say you're like a police officer and you identify with I am a police officer. And now as long as you're doing that job, you feel good. But now maybe 10 years, 12 years into your career, maybe you retire, maybe you get injured, you can't do the job anymore, maybe you get fired, and now you feel like less of a person because you're driving a taxi cab and your mind's identifying with I am a police officer, right? So there's this identity that the mind can cling to, right? So the universal truth of non-self is going to help you to eliminate that, where you can understand that this body is not you, this mind is not you. There is a body, there is a mind, and it's come together for this existence, but this doesn't define who you are as a person. Sometimes people even do this with their choices and decisions, right? If say that in the past you might have used drugs and alcohol, and you might identify with I am an alcoholic or I am an addict. No, that's not true. In the past, We might have chosen to use drugs and alcohol. Those are decisions that we made, but that doesn't define who we are today as a person. So the Buddha teaches what's called the universal truth of non-self, where you understand that there is no self. There's no you there. That's his actual words. Sometimes people come to places like Thailand in search of themselves. They might say, I need to go find my true self. They might tell their family, I need to go on this journey to go find myself. I don't even know who I am anymore. I need to go find myself. And they might come to a place like Thailand, but you won't find yourself here because it doesn't exist. That's what the Buddha teaches you, is that it doesn't exist. That there is a body, there is a mind, but it doesn't define who you are. You might come to a place like this and find new friends, new hobbies, new activities, maybe even a new job. But none of that stuff defines who you are. And if you grab onto that, thinking that that is who you are, you might go back home and say, Mom, Dad, I found myself. I know who I am again. Yay. Well, 5 years later, when all that stuff changes, you don't know who you are again, right? Because you're trying to grab onto something that the mind wants to be permanent to define who you are as a person. So the way you realize non-self is there's multiple things that you would like to do. There's a meditation for this to train your mind to strip away this idea of who you think you are. Then there's doing things like wearing simple clothing, right? The monks and people like me, we just wear like simple clothing. This isn't something that everyone is going to necessarily decide to do, but as a household practitioner, you could like stack up your clothing and then just pick off the top of the clothing. Don't give your mind a chance to decide what to wear each day, because that's what it's going to want to do. It's going to want to grab from the middle. You'd like to pick off the top, and don't give your mind a chance to pick, right? So maybe you have casual clothes, you have formal clothes. So when you go to work, you just pick off the top. And when you have casual stuff, you pick off the top. Or some people choose to shave their hair, shave their facial hair, not wear jewelry and makeup and things like this. This is the teachings of the Buddha to help you not identify with this as who you are. So like these statues that you see of the Buddha, he didn't actually dress like this during his lifetime. If you come to our classroom, you'll see that I use this picture. I don't know if you guys can see this from back there. This is what the Buddha actually looked like during his lifetime. He shaved his hair and he wore rag robes. He didn't dress like this the way you see these statues. These statues don't depict his actual appearance during his lifetime. He didn't walk around with a crown on his head and wearing all these elaborate clothing. He just wore simple rag robes and shaved his hair because it helps the mind to not identify with this body as who you are. And you don't necessarily need to do those exact same things, but you at least need to not allow the mind to choose what you're going to wear for a period of time, maybe for like 6 months or a year or 2 years, but then eventually you might go back to selecting your clothing again, but your mind doesn't form its feelings based on this clothing. So there's the meditation, there's wearing simple clothing, there's shaving your hair, getting rid of your jewelry and all these kinds of things, but then there's also cutting off and letting go in the moment. That when you're noticing the discontentedness arising associated with this personal existence view, you need to cut it off and let it go. So if someone said to you, wow, you're so handsome, that shirt really brings out the colors of your eyes, you might get like so excited and happy about that. But that's a conditioned feeling. As long as you get agreeable contact, you'll get happy. So you need to cut off that conditioned pleasant feeling. Because if you allow the mind to get that conditioned pleasant feeling, the painful ones are waiting for you right around the corner. But then also when someone says, and I'm not going to say something, but someone says something degrading or derogatory to you, right? Well, when you hear that, if you're noticing frustration arising, you need to cut that off and let it go too. You need to cut it off as a bodily sensation. That's the early warning system that is alerting you that you're about to have a conditioned feeling. So there might be tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. If you guys have paid attention to when you're getting angry and frustrated, there's this early warning system that each one of you have that is arising this alert. It's almost like a red light on the dashboard of your car alerting you that you're about to get angry or frustrated. And you'd like to cut it off and let it go right there because that's going to preserve your mind. You're not suppressing your feeling or repressing it. You're actually cutting it off before it becomes a feeling. So these bodily sensations, it's an early warning system. It's like saying, I'm about to get angry. I'm about to get frustrated. I'm about to feel guilt or shame or fear or whatever that feeling is. And you say, nope, not going to let you do that. And you cut it off because your mind's trying to form a feeling based on some external thing. So if you're sitting at a table and 2 tables over, they say, all Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle and friendly, and you're noticing pleasant feelings, you need to cut that off. Because then 2 tables over, someone's going to say something degrading and disparaging. Because of impermanence, not everybody's going to say something positive, right? So you need to cut off that too. And over time, you can gradually wear this away. So you do a certain amount of proactive training to eliminate your personal existence view. That's the meditation, the wearing of clothes, getting rid of jewelry and things like this. But then you also, in the moment, need to cut off and let go whenever your discontentedness is arising. And slowly but surely, this will train your mind to get to that permanent peace and permanent joy where the mind can just always be happy. So you might hear someone say, wow, you are so fat. You might think, yep, sure am. Just keep on walking, right? No big deal, right? Your mind's completely protected at that point. Whereas if you have personal existence view, you'll get upset and angry and frustrated by that because the mind's craving permanence. Everybody needs to talk to me in this way. And the mind has this craving for permanence where not everyone's going to talk to you that way because you live in an impermanent world. So this is a little bit for you. But what I would suggest you do is in our classroom or on our website, you can get access to our first book. We have a 13-book series. And in volume 1, chapter 16, I dedicate the whole chapter to the dissolving of the ego, which comprises the personal existence view in the fetter of conceit. And you can get this book for free. You can download it from our website, which is buddhadailywisdom.com, or you can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon if you like. The title of the book is Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. And by the way, there's some brochures over there by the chanting sheet that has our website on it. You guys are welcome to grab one of those. It even has the classes and all the things that we have here at the temple to be able to help you guys. But that first book would be the best way to really get started with understanding personal existence view in more detail. And then there's videos and podcasts and things that I've done that'll help you deepen that even further. And then you can even get personal guidance if you like. You can schedule appointments and we can meet privately, either in person or online, and I'll help you to really dive into it more deeply if there's certain specific situations where you're having difficulties. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hello? Oh, yeah. I sometimes have some struggles living in the moment and enjoying the present because I have a feeling of making memories and have to remember the moments for a long time. Do you have any tips how I can get rid of it?
Yeah, this comes from the mind's what's called sensual desire. This is one of the fetters or one of the pollutions that are in the mind, as well as restlessness as well. What sensual desire is where the mind's pulling in all these different directions. If you had like a post and a pillar and you had animals that were tied to this post and pillar, they would be pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, but they would keep getting yanked back. So maybe like the monkey would go to the forest and the bird would go to the sky and the alligator would go to the river. They'd be pulling in all these different directions, but because they're tied to this post and pillar, they're going to get yanked back. Right? But what the mind does when it doesn't have training and discipline is it's not like that. The mind pulls in all these different directions, that it's almost like these 6 animals are tied together in a knot, and whichever one is strongest, it pulls in that direction. So if the alligator is strongest, it's going to pull the monkey and the snake and the dog and the bird with it, right? So it might be the eyes that is pulling, right? Or it might be the ear that is pulling. So now the mind is lacking concentration and focus and clarity. So you need to train your mind to knock down what's called sensual desire. In the breathing mindfulness meditation that we did as part of this loving kindness meditation, that's what's going to help you to be able to knock down your craving, desire, attachment, where the mind's longing, yearning. But you would like to do that as a standalone session. That's usually where people start with their meditation practice on this journey to enlightenment, is they'll spend maybe 4 weeks or 8 weeks just doing breathing mindfulness meditation, not the loving kindness meditation. So you start with that meditation, is breathing mindfulness meditation. Then you can also practice generosity, where you're giving and sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources without any expectation of anything in return. Giving and sharing is going to also train your mind to let go, because that's what craving, desire, attachment is the mind's holding on, that central desire, it's holding on. And now the mind pulls in all these different directions. So you need to train your mind to let go. The breathing mindfulness meditation does that, and the generosity where you're giving and sharing with the people around you. Because an unenlightened mind that has craving, desire, attachment, you'll find it very challenging to share with the people around you. So you like to share your food and your time and your effort and your financial resources and things like this. And the Buddha teaches you to do this frequently because it trains your mind to let go. He trains you to do this daily, right? So if somebody was going to give $500 once a year to an orphanage, that's not nearly as beneficial as $1 a day and just every single day, because the mind has to let go, let go, let go, let go. So you can train your mind with breathing mindfulness meditation and generosity. Those are like proactive ways to train your mind. But then in the moment, you like to do what's called practicing singleness of mind. What singleness of mind is you only allow the mind to do one thing at a time. Oftentimes people think that they can multitask. The mind is incapable of multitasking. You can only do one thing at a time, but the mind will try to multitask. So the mind might be talking on the phone to mom, watching TV, or eating a sandwich. It's not actually doing all three of these things. It's actually talking to the mom for 3 to 5 seconds, watching TV for 10 seconds, eating a sandwich for a few seconds, and the mind is racing around and racing around and racing around. It's almost like a horse on a horse racetrack that it races around and races around. And if you go to the barn and you see these horses, they can't calm down. They're kind of hyped up. So that's the way that the mind is, that it can't calm down and have focus and concentration when it hasn't been trained. So you need to be able to train it to do one thing at a time. So if you're like washing dishes, for example, and you notice your mind's wandering, you need to be able to cut that off and let it go and come back to the washing the dishes. That's why the breathing mindfulness meditation and the generosity is so important, to be able to train your mind proactively to let go, so that now in the moment when your mind moves off of washing dishes, you bring it back. Because if you allow the mind to do that, the knife might slip and cut your hand. Now you need to go to the doctor, right? Or say you're in a business meeting and the boss is talking and you're supposed to be focused on the business meeting, but your mind is wandering, thinking about your trip to Thailand and the mango and sticky rice and the massages and going to see the elephants and all these other things. You're in the business meeting, but 3 months from now, you're going to Thailand and your mind's wandering. You're like, no, cut that off, come back, focus on the business meeting. So the way I think about this is that if you had a piece of wood and you had a steel rod and you were grinding this back and forth like this, initially your steel rod's going to bounce around a lot because there's no groove yet. But if you grind that steel rod back and forth enough, you're going to get a groove going. And when it pops out, you're going to know it. You're going to be able to bring it right back. But then if you get this steel rod going back and forth long enough, you'll get a deeper and deeper groove, and eventually it'll never pop out, no matter what's going on. So that's what you need to be able to do, is train your mind with the breathing mindfulness meditation in generosity, but in the present moment where you see your mind wandering, pull it back and pull it back. Be that post or pillar that the animals keep coming back to. Because eventually when the animals are pulling and they keep getting yanked back, they're just going to sit calmly by that post and pillar. They're no longer going to pull. So your mind's the same way, but it's going to take gradual training, gradual practice, gradual progress. There's no button you can press. There's no, 1 week exercise that you can do that's going to instantly give you more focus and concentration. But if you do this gradually with the breathing mindfulness meditation, the generosity, and then every time your mind wanders, you bring it back, over a long-term period of time, you'll get more and more focus and concentration because you have that deeper groove now and the mind won't pop out. Yes. I'm hesitant to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, because my eyes are a little bit blurry here at nighttime.
Hello? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
I can hear you.
I have 2 questions. And the first one is, what is the Buddhist view regarding the marriage life?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you, but it's just not quite loud enough.
What is the Buddhist view regarding the marriage and the attachment?
Sure. So the Buddha taught all people to respect all people, in marriage too. when you're in a life partnership, whether it's a man and a woman or a man and a man or a woman and a woman, if you're in a life partnership, you're going to need to have 4 things in order for this relationship to go well. And not just in a life partnership, but also in every relationship. The Buddha teaches that you need to practice giving or generosity, where you're willing to give and share with your life partner, but he teaches this in other relationships too. He teaches that it would be wise to have endearing speech, where you're speaking in loving and kind and warm and gentle ways, that you're also practicing moral conduct, where you're not causing harm through your moral conduct, and also that you are practicing equality, and that you see each other as equals. Because if you see yourself as being above or below your partner, then it's not going to go well in your relationship. So these are the 4 qualities that the Buddha teaches you to practice. Generosity, I explained that earlier. Endearing speech and moral conduct or beneficent conduct, you need to learn this from the Eightfold Path. The Buddha teaches this as part of his core central teaching. And then you understand equality, to be able to think as if you're equal, because what the mind's conceit is going to do is it's going to make you want to think that you're above people or that you're below people. And this is going to be harmful for your mind, because you're going to look down on your life partner, or you'll just look up to your life partner with such awe. But you need to be able to see your relationships as everybody being equal, because if you don't, then your mind's not going to be able to have harmonious relationships with the people around you. So those are the 4 things that the Buddha teaches to have in a relationship: giving or generosity, endearing speech, moral conduct or beneficent conduct, and then equality. And this is going to help to be able to build harmonious relationships in your day-to-day life. And you're going to need the Eightfold Path, which is his core central teaching, to really be able to expand that and explore it more fully. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask about making decisions, if there are any Buddhist relating to that.
About making decisions?
Yes, and how to make a good decision or that feels authentic.
Sure. There's a couple of things here. First, you need to be able to learn what's called the natural law of kamma. Some people call this karma, right? The word karma is from the Sanskrit version of this. It's a different language, but the language of the original teachings of the Buddha is in the Pali language, so we use the word kamma. If this translated to just one English word, I would use it because it'd be easier for everyone, but it doesn't. It translates to cause and effect, or action and result, the results of your decisions. It's nothing mystical or magical. It's not about who's to blame or who's at fault. There's no black cloud following you around. There's nobody that's punishing you and rewarding you. It's just about cause and effect. It's a sequence of events. Whenever you make decisions wisely, it will produce wholesome kamma, or wholesome results. And when you make decisions unwisely, it's going to produce unwholesome kamma, or unwholesome results. So the Buddha teaches you all throughout his teachings. You could say every one of his teachings in one way or another is teaching you this natural law of kamma, of cause and effect. So like when I just answered this gentleman about the relationship with a married couple, I'm explaining the natural law of kamma. That if you're in a relationship, what you're going to see, the cause and effect of that, is that if you have generosity, if you have endearing speech, beneficent conduct, and equality, and you practice these qualities, the cause and effect of that is that you're going to have a very harmonious relationship. So you need to be able to learn this natural law of kamma very closely. And that's what all the teachings of the Buddha are helping you to be able to see. So that's the first step of being able to get to wise decisions and making sure you're making wise decisions. But then you also need to train your mind to have calmness and composure. Because with these pollutions in the mind's going to want to chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. It's going to chase its cravings, and it's going to base its decisions on its craving and its anger, and then its lack of wisdom, or its unknowing of true reality. Some people call it ignorance or confusion or misunderstanding. And whenever you're making decisions through craving, anger, and ignorance, your mind's going to be shaken up, and you're going to make an unwise decision. But when you can make decisions through generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, this is going to produce wholesome kamma for you. So generosity is giving and sharing without any expectation of anything in return. Loving kindness is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill towards all beings. And then, of course, wisdom is to know what's wise and unwise based on the natural laws. So if you base your decisions in that, it's going to produce wholesome results for you. And then the third part of this To be able to get to discernment, which that's what you're asking about, discernment is wise decision making, you're going to need to maintain a calm mind. And that's where training with the meditation and all the other teachings of the Buddha will help you. Because when your mind's all shaken up, you're not going to be able to make wise decisions. So in any situation where you see you're angry or frustrated or irritated or annoyed or anything like that, even guilt, shame, and fear and stuff like this, the best decision you can make is to not make any decision at all. Just put everything on pause, step back, calm your mind, let the pollutions come down, get the anger and the frustration, agitation out of your mind, and then start looking at the decisions to make. Because whenever you make decisions when your mind's shaken up, it's going to produce unwholesome results for you or unwholesome karma. So on a simple side is just make sure your mind's calm. That will help you to make wise decisions, but that's not going to be 100% of it, because you need to be able to base your decisions in generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. And you need to be able to understand this natural law of karma, of cause and effect, to know what is wise and what is unwise, and then base your decisions in that. No other questions? Okay, I don't see any questions online. Oh, yes, ma'am. I smell pizza. Do you guys smell pizza? I smell pizza. Yeah.
If the Buddha was simple, did not wear ornamental jewelry, wore plain clothes, why are temples?
Why are they so elaborate? Yeah. Yeah. I can't hear you, but I can hear you.
So extravagant, gold
Yeah.
and silver and diamonds.
Sure.
Just curious.
So what the Thai people do is they build these community centers. That's what a temple is. It's a community center. One of the ways you might think about a temple is it's like the womb of a woman. The womb of a woman is the very best place to be able to become a human being, because that's where you can grow and be nurtured and develop and become a human being, right? So the temple environment is like the womb of a woman. The womb of the woman gets created by all of us. And now this womb is available for ordained practitioners to live in, but then for us household practitioners, we can enter in and out of that womb on a daily basis. Like you guys have entered into the womb for an hour or so, and now you're in that womb growing and developing into a better and better human being. And then you exit out of that womb, but then you can come back too, right? So the temple environment is a community center. It's a learning center, a place to grow and develop into a better and better human being. Another way to think about it is like a mental health network. It's a self-funded mental health network where in our countries, we typically pay $150, $300 to go see a psychiatrist or something like that. Where here in Thailand, over multiple centuries, they've created this massive network of mental health providers all throughout their country that people can walk into the temple and get help from somebody at no cost, without any expectation. So what the Thai people do is they make their temples very elaborate because of a couple of things. Is one, they would like the temple to last for a very long time so that multiple generations can benefit from it. But also it's a symbol for them to remind them that it's not money that's going to lead to happiness. That all this gold that you see in the temples, it's reminding them that wealth and money doesn't lead to happiness. That sure, you're going to need a certain amount of money and a certain amount of wealth in order to be able to provide for the basic necessities that you need. But oftentimes what the mind does is it chases money and chases money and chases money, thinking that more money is going to create happiness. So every time you see this gold, it's a reminder for you that this isn't going to lead to happiness. It's not going to lead to your permanent happiness. There's one temple that you guys might have been to up in Chiang Rai called the White Temple. They've made their bathroom gold, right? And from my understanding, the original designer, he decided to do that because he was interested in reminding people that you just kind of poop money out, right? That's the whole symbolism there. So that's why they're so elaborate like this, because the Thai people know that their temples is what's going to lead to the better way of life for them. That's why almost every village has a temple, because they understand how important they are for their growth and development as villagers. So they invest resources to be able to have these temples in their village. And then as people are donating resources, they create a certain amount of exuberance with this goal to be able to remind them of, hey, it's not money and wealth that's going to lead to your happiness. So that's the purpose of why they do it. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that, but that's the reason why they do it. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So I think what I'm going to do here then is just end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow and develop. I see you have a hand. You're welcome to come up after class if you like, and we can talk. If you guys would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you guys to do that. This evening at 9 p.m. over in our classroom, I'm going to be guiding students in a breathing mindfulness meditation session. And then I'm going to be teaching a topic where that's what I typically do in all of our classes, that I'll actually teach a topic, where today was just kind of like a little discussion and a question and answer period, where tonight I'm going to actually be teaching a topic. It's called Do No Harm, What is the Future of the Planet? So we're going to be talking about that this evening starting at 9 o'clock. So if you'd like to just come for meditation, or you'd like to come for meditation and the talk afterwards, you're more than welcome over in our classroom. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be having a session in our classroom at 9 a.m. where we'll be doing loving kindness meditation together. And then it's going to be another question and answer period like this. Next week, not tomorrow, but the following Monday, I'm going to be starting a course. It's called Foundation in the Path to Enlightenment, where Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., I'm going to be teaching an in-depth course, which is helping you to build a foundation in the teachings of the Buddha. And we cap it off on Friday with a tour to some of the temples outside the city, where you can learn about the symbolism, the artwork, and the architecture related to the teachings of the Buddha, where I teach these kinds of things so that when you go to a temple, it has meaning for you. Because now you're probably going to the temple like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's interesting. Where there's actually real symbolism behind this stuff. And there's some audio tours that I've done here at this temple. There's an audio tour that you can scan a QR code to do. And you can see our website that I've also done Wat Tung. And I'm working on some other temples as well to be able to have audio tours for you guys, to be able to go around and learn about the symbolism of a temple. And you're always welcome to come talk to me or see our website as well. There's lots of opportunities for you to learn, and it's all available at no cost. So thank you all for joining, and whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your evening. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. I definitely smell pizza.